Hey everybody, what's going on? It's it's PLD.
And I'm Richard Eric Jarvi. Welcome to Class Action. Tell us all about it, Paul.
Class Action is this show here. This is the one you're watching on the Action Industries YouTube channel, the home of all things Ben Bateman and Andrew Guy, whom we salute for giving us this little slice on the interwebs. Class Action is a show where we usually will take two movies, franchises, Hollywood personas, viewpoints, something like that, put them up against each other, and with the help of our five custom-made categories, we would decide which one is victorious in a battle against each other in what we usually call the Class Action Brief of the Week.
But we're doing none of that today.
None of it. Not one.
We are throwing out the format completely, and we figured, should we just say why, just from like right now, what we were planning on doing and why we're doing what we're doing now.
Well, if you look at the breed, look at the thing. We're supposed to be doing Outbreak versus Contagion, which is what Andrew and Ben actually did on the Action Guys last week. Obviously, it's a big topic of the discussion right now. We're all under some form of quarantine, so we thought those are two good movies that we could, pit back and forth. And we decided that, kind of like the middle of the week, we decided to go for it, and then we try to come up with our categories. And
I started having problems.
Kind of failed a little bit with our categories.
I feel like you tried a lot and you pretty much came up with some decent categories, but something in my mind, something was incepted, this little idea that started growing, and I felt like I'm not feeling it because Outbreak and Contagion, they both talk about the virus and the disease, but they're really not similar in the genre at all.
It's hard to compare and contrast them.
Yeah, and it just felt tough to compare them. So we figured, I figured it was actually made like 8 hours ago, this pitch, that we should do just top 10 Outbreak pandemic movies. I call it my top 10 quarantine movies list.
That's good enough. That's close enough. No, we're going to change it. We're not going to have the brief of the week. Instead, we're having Class Action. Jury's out. 10 angry films. I like that pun. I just came up with it 5 seconds before the show started, so I'm pretty impressed with it myself. But
that's right. So we're doing top 10, but before we get into our top 10 list, we are still doing some of our favorite games on here, like what would Ed Harris play, and we're not doing off the cuff because the top 10 list, it's almost like off the cuff because it was sort of it's not off the cuff.
I did everything at work. I did everything at work today, and so I really didn't have a lot of time. So I just kind of came up with my list and went, I like this, and I basically honorable mentions and things like that. But it wasn't as much like I didn't get a chance to go back and watch all these films. I did watch Outbreak and Contagion in preparation for this, so I think we will touch base instead of having our review like we sometimes do. We usually do a review if it's a new movie. I think we can touch base on those two movies since we definitely did prepare enough for them. You want to just talk about a few of them and then we can go into our next stuff?
Yep. Actually, I had never heard of Outbreak before Ben and Drew mentioned it.
Really?
No, I figured this, like Outbreak and Virus, were the same movie. I don't know why. I know.
Oh, wow.
You're right there.
That comes up.
Because they're very similar in vibe, but they talk about completely different things. Virus is like an alien invasion movie, right?
I think so. I don't really know Virus very well, to be honest with you.
Okay, but yeah, I knew that Dustin Hoffman played in a trashy 90s movie, but that's pretty much it. And Contagion I had seen before, but I was never really. I was like, okay, it's a realistic movie about disease. Now, when I watched it again, I was like, okay, this is scary on a whole different level.
It's funny because I saw Outbreak. I actually saw Outbreak in the theaters. I remember that, and that was probably the last time. I'm old. I'm dating myself. I know I'm old. That's the last time I actually saw Outbreak. I think was in the theaters back in like '95. So like when I watched it again, it was almost like watching a new movie. The only thing I really remembered was like the monkey at the end in the backyard. That's the only thing I remembered about the movie going into it. I totally forgot who was in it, except for I knew Dustin Hoffman. That was about it. But then Contagion, I remember hearing about it, and I didn't think I had seen it until I watched it. And I remember the scene where Lawrence Fishburne tells his girlfriend about the pandemic.
No, I'm just shaking my head because you mixed up Morgan Freeman and Lawrence Fishburne. So like you. I'll leave it at that.
Son of a bitch. How dare you? So anyway, you're distracting me now. But anyway,
I know, I'm sorry.
I remember I saw the moment where Lawrence Fishburne tells his girlfriend to get out of Chicago or whatever, and all of a sudden I was like, oh wait, I did see this before. I kind of remember Jude Law's character, so I must have seen most of this movie before, but not the whole thing. So, but I revisited it and I was excited to see it again. So, but let's talk about them. Outbreak, for example. Let's say, you said it best, I think. Trashy 90s movie, and because that's exactly what it is, trashy 90s. They basically an action movie without being a real action movie. Dustin Hoffman gets to be what a 90s action star would be. It's not subtle in any way, shape, or form. I could see this being a Michael Bay, almost a Michael Bay movie. I could totally see so many different angles of it, but it's fun. At the end of the day, it's a big popcorn movie. You watch it. Well, you don't want to see the deaths while you're eating the popcorn, but you can watch everything else. It's still a fun movie. It's not a good movie, but I had a lot of fun with it. I mean, Dustin Hoffman plays the role with pretty much the bombast you need. You know what I'm saying with that?
Yeah, I think Dustin Hoffman's performance is what made this movie for me, for sure. It's like you want to see these high caliber actors in these trash action movies. There's something so special about it.
It's like The Rock. It's like Con Air. It's like the Face Off. You're taking these concepts and you plug in Dustin Hoffman, Morgan Freeman, Cuba Gooding Jr.,
Rene Russo, Kevin Spacey.
But even then, back then, Kevin Spacey.
You get to see him die of the disease.
That's very true. I shouldn't wish it anybody, but that might be a bonus for it. So, that's what it takes from it. It's a lot of fun, especially when you compare and contrast to something like Contagion, where it's not a fun movie at all. Even though it's the same concept. But do you have a favorite part from Outbreak?
Probably the helicopter chase.
I can't deny that.
Because I've seen this movie once. To get these like subtle fist bump moments, you have to know the movie better than that. And for me, I watched him. I was expecting something more. I was expecting more like Con Air quality, not action, but like the quality wasn't up there either for me. It was trashy. It was enjoyable to a point, but it was a bit too predictable.
I get that. I think my favorite part was actually involved was the helicopter, also the helicopter chase. The part where Morgan Freeman comes in and goes, "Whatever you do, don't get in the way of the other helicopter or whatever." And like, what the hell are you doing? It was great seeing Morgan Freeman come back to the light side.
Right. Yep,
being good. So that was my favorite part of it. So I think overall, I gave it a 3 out of 5, maybe a 2.5 out of 5, somewhere right around there. I think I pushed into 3 because it was enjoyable enough, trashiness wise. Not very good, but still fun. So,
different story with Contagion.
Yeah,
the movie just has. It's weird to say it's like aged well and it's better now. It's like it's kind of weird to say, but it's kind of true.
It's because realistic. Like I don't think we realized how realistic it was. Like we watched it like back in 2011. I think it was 2011. Yeah, it's like kind of like you're still kind of like, nah, this couldn't happen. It's too quick. CDC would be much more in control of that. I mean, look at the bird flu was taken care of pretty quickly. Not a big deal. This stuff just wasn't going to happen. And now you watch it, it's like almost like you could be watching the news today. Like this is how it went down. Only difference is like the Contagion is a little more direct and severe and quick.
Definitely, yeah. The kill rate is like way higher, and I think it gets you in the first 48 hours, pretty much.
Yeah. But it's funny hearing the vocabulary in Contagion. Like, oh, I've heard that recently, like the R nauts.
Right. Yeah.
I've heard that. So,
and they also had the fact that the bat met with the pig. Like
the pig. Yep.
The scary thing is the one bat had to meet up with the one pig out of like millions to make this happen. And the final scene when it all drops, and
that is one of the coolest parts of the movie. And I think I forgot to mention it in my review on Letterboxd, but like after everything is done, then they go back because the whole thing's like day 2, day 7, day 7, and then it's like day 1. They show exactly how it went down. And like, Holy fucking shit! How'd that happen? That's how it happened. Wow.
Well, someone ate the bat in the real world, and that's how it happened. Apparently.
What the fuck what kind of world do we live in? I don't get it. But what are you doing?
What are you doing?
But the funny thing is, there's actually a great cast for Contagion as well.
Crazy cast.
Crazy cast. You know, you got Lawrence Fishburne, you got Matty Damon, you got
Matty D.
Judy. Maybe we'll make that a thing. I like Matt Damon a lot. Maybe make that class action thing. Matty D. It sounds
It
sounds a little bit too much like Mater D. So maybe we shouldn't. But
sorry,
Matty D sounds a little bit too much like Mater D. Maybe so. Maybe we shouldn't go there. But I don't know. But anyway, Gwyneth Paltrow, Jude Law, Bryan Cranston.
Right. Yeah.
A lot. It's amazing. It's amazing how deep.
A lot of Oscar winners.
Yes. There. And of course, directed by the great Steven Soderbergh, who knows around the film.
We didn't mention Kate Winslet.
No, we didn't even Kate Winslet. Another great one. But that's definitely a far more serious. It was almost depressing watching it. Not depressing is the wrong word, but you're just kind of like you watch it, your eyes are open the whole time. You're just kind of like, It's good. It's a good film.
And it's weird, and you want to watch it. And this ties into I read an article this morning about people watching movies now and why Contagion and Outbreak are at the top of all the lists. And it talked about, it was an article on The Guardian that talked about escapism entertainment versus, like, usually you think of, okay, now's the time, people are at home, they want to like catch up on their TV shows, movies, whatever. So it seems natural with all the craziness that's going on that you want some escapism. You want to watch like your Star Wars, your Lord of the Rings, your whatever, Star Treks. But no, people are watching Contagion, people are watching Outbreak, people are watching pandemic documentaries, and it's so weird. It seems people actually want to expose themselves to these types of movies. And this is like, they call it exposure treatment in the article. And it's really interesting because I'm 100% on board with that. I have watched all these movies as well, and I want to watch these movies. Maybe it's the fact that the movies end on a positive note, usually. And you want to think there's like a positive outcome, even if the movie takes itself very seriously and is really realistic, like in Contagion.
That's very true. I mean, you have the ending that's very positive, then they get through it. I mean, Matty Damon still kind of has that breakdown moment about his wife, but still overall it's a more positive ending than you would think was going to happen, given how everything was going. It's kind of like, I guess you got to lean into it sometimes. You got to lean into what's going on. You want to know what's going on in the world, and this is your way to kind of deal. It's almost cathartic in a way. I got action cats behind me every single time. He knows when I'm going to record. He's like, I'm going to get in that. He's like, hey, I'm. But well, I think I give Contagion. I want to say 4 out of 5. I really
me too.
It was really good. Maybe I might have even gone 4.5 out of 5. It was really well crafted. I mean, the only negative I had to it was a little bit, almost too much of a slow burn at times. The way, like the vignette style, kind of like it almost was a little too slow some points. But that's what you need for the realistic side of things. You got to kind of go that way sometimes. It's not about the flash; it's about the substance. But it does take away a little bit from the excitement factor. So, but overall, still very good. Very good overall. So.
Yeah, but they were hard movies to compare for the brief of the week. So, but before we get into the brief of the week, I think we have your favorite game to play.
Oh, it's definitely my favorite game to play. What would Ed Harris play? Oh, I love that guy.
I love that picture.
Look at that guy. I love that picture too. I know. And look at that one too. I like that one too. Ed Harris.
And look at that one. And that one. And this is him in the abyss.
That one.
The rocket. All right.
I feel a lot of that. We have to do an Ed Harris. I think we have to do class action Ed Harris at some point. That would be
Ed Harris versus Tom Cruise.
Oh God. Oh, whoa.
Whoa.
But anyway, Ed Harris, my favorite actor, who you guys all know, and Richard is so kind to let me take.
Who's your favorite actor?
It is Ed Harris.
Edward
Harris.
No one calls him Edward.
No one does. Except I would call him Eddie. I would call him Eddie Legend. That'd be my thing.
Eddie H.
Eddie Legend. But anyway, I always say this: he never mails in a performance. He makes every film better that he's in, even just by being there. He legitimizes a movie. Just like The Rock is a perfect example. Trashy script, not trashy script, but not a great script. It's not a great movie, but they get actors in there that play the part so convincingly that almost like an Oscar turn level caliber performance that makes the film better. And that's what Ed Harris does for almost every film he's in. He just adds a dignity to a film. So I like to say, well, how could Ed Harris make these movies better? What role could they play? Now, sometimes I replace them with I replace the legend with a legend. So maybe it might just be a different take, but it'd still be kind of cool. So.
Yeah, and sometimes we make up a character. It doesn't have to be a recast. It can just be a totally new character, and the movie somehow fits into the story.
Yeah, we did that last week actually with the Quiet Place and everything. It was kind of fun to do that. This week though, I did not do that. Actually, a lot of times I do both because I love figuring out. But this week
I recast him as well because both movies are so stacked, so stacked.
Where are you going to put a new character in there? It's almost impossible to fit. So we'll go first. We'll go to the Outbreak. I thought this was the easiest one, actually. I kind of, if you watched the Action Guys last week, I gave it away. They're looking, who could play the military bad guy in the film? And I was in the background of the StreamYard. I was like, Ed Harris. So Ed Harris has to play Donald Sutherland's part in this one. The bad, the mean general, the intense general who's not on the right side of the law at this point, really. That's got to be him taking down.
He wanted to use the virus as a weapon. Where have we seen that before?
Ooh, General Hummel again. Ed Harris needs to play General Hummel in every movie. It's almost like Ed Harris every movie. It's General Hummel.
Exactly.
This is General Pete Hummel, we'll say.
What would Hummel play?
Every character will be a different first name. So this is Pete Hummel. That's what you play for me. What else for you? What's I going to play an Outbreak for you?
In Outbreak, I'd actually have him as the lead character, as Dustin Hoffman's character, and there's a reason for that. When Rene Russo gets sick, I want her to have this. They have this moment where Dustin Hoffman takes off his mask. He's like, "You got to fight. You never fought." I want him to have the abyss speech to Rene Russo.
You ever been ever fight your life? I'll fight, bitch. Smack her around a little bit. Get his outside.
I think just for that one scene, he'd be perfect.
I like it. I like it a lot. I think it's good. That's a good call. What about Contagion? Want to go first on Contagion?
Yeah, completely different. I want him as the ultimate shit weasel, and I'd have him as Jude Law's character.
Damn, I should have gone first. That's exactly what I was going to pick him as too. It's a little bit against type, but I think he's playing the role before a little bit when he played. He was in Nixon. He played Howard Hunt, which he kind of played the same kind of way. Not exactly the smartest guy in the room, but smart enough to like be involved with something and be a shit weasel that way. I think that's great. That'd be a great role to him to try. Not quite as intense and driving as he usually is. But I'd like
have this weird tooth, like Snaggletooth, or what?
Yes. Yeah.
And he could do a pretty British accent. I'm pretty sure.
I'm sure he could figure out. He can do that.
Although Ed Harris is a blogger, seems weird.
It does seem a little strange. He's a little older. The role might need to take a little step back on that. I mean, the other roles he could play, I guess you could throw him in the Bryan Cranston, but you always throw him in the military role. If there's ever a military role, he just like, you could throw him in there. He'll do that, no problem.
Get Ed Harris.
But there you go. But I think about trying to go outside the box. I think Jude Law is a good place to at least try and see what happens. I mean, you could throw him in the Matt Damon character. That'd be interesting, having him be the everyman. He's done that a few times too, but never doesn't get the chance to do it as much. But,
yeah, I can picture him having the moment in the hospital. It's like, okay, so when can I talk to her? It's like, what are you saying? What happened to her?
What happened to her? Yeah, exactly.
But he would go like way more angry with that.
Oh, that doctor went through the fucking wall. All right, that's good enough for this week. So what would Ed Harris play? Thank you for indulging me as always. It's a fun time. So
my pleasure.
Instead of now, like you said, instead of doing our we had the class action brief for the week of Outbreak versus Contagion, throw it out the window. Jury's out. 10 angry films. We're gonna go through our top 10, a little bit off the cuff, but top 10 of the Contagion type movies that we're going to watch while we're locked down in our homes.
I call him my Outbreak. Sorry, my quarantine movie. Top 10 quarantine movies.
Okay.
Because I don't have like. There are some zombie movies in there, which they're still virus movies, and I approach this that I won't put any limitations as to this movie has to be super realistic, but all the movies take the disease and the virus, the outbreak, very seriously. So there's no comedies in there. That's how I approach the list.
It's kind of weird because, like I said, we did do it a little bit. I did try to do a little bit last minute. You threw the curveball at me, so I kind of had a little bit of trouble, like deciding what I was going to use. I didn't like think about too much about zombie movies. I kind of wanted to limit the zombie movies, but then like I started thinking about it. There's a couple in there like I really like that as a Contagion type movie.
So there's a lot of zombie movies that take really seriously, like not in a trashy action movie way.
No, absolutely, but and some of them even are in a semi-trashy action movie, but they still work. As far as the pandemic version, so it makes sense to do zombies. But I didn't want to do all zombie movies. That's almost a different category. I feel like I guess that's why I kind of went back and forth with these. I'm like, I don't want to make a zombie list because they can all be zombie movies, but that's a totally different list. So I sprinkled some in there and got some other ones as well. And the funny thing is, some of these I threw my top 10. I'm like, I don't really even remember a whole lot about it. I remember liking it a lot. I remember like little bits and pieces of them, but otherwise, we'll go through that and go from there. So I want to throw in a few honorable mentions for my 10. And my 10th one, actually, I'm going to go with my 10th one also. I'll go first, and you'll see why.
If we do have overlapping ones, do we discuss it? Do we do like the top 10 show? If like you have it on as number 10, I have it on as like number 6. Do we discuss it right away, or when we get to my 6?
We can discuss it right away.
Okay,
it's fine by me either way. I'm going to say.
All right.
So you'll just say what it was. You could say it was your number 6. All right. Just a quick couple, 2 honorable mentions I want to mention off the bat. They're not on my list because I haven't seen them. I have not seen. I know one of them. I know one of them's on your list. We're going to talk about it later on. But on my honorable mention is Train to Busan because I have not seen that yet. I've heard of.
But how do you put it on the list if you haven't seen it?
I'm not. It's my honorable mention. That's why it's not on my list because I want to see it. I've heard good things about it.
Okay.
And I'm putting it there as a placeholder, and I think it might be on my top 10. I want to mention that I basically just want to say, look, it's not on my list because I haven't seen it. The other one being the Andromeda Strain from 1971, classic movie.
I haven't seen that.
I have not seen either. So again, I know some movies that's pre my being born that I haven't seen. I'm sure some people are like, how did you not see that? Because I do that to people too. That's what it is. Those are the 2 that are. There's one more I wanted to mention. We talked about this one before going live. Children of Men. I love that film, and if I put it on my list, it might be really right to the top. But the idea, I didn't know how much of a pandemic movie it was. I kind of worried with myself because they had some kind of, I don't know if it was a virus. We don't know what it was, but they weren't able to be. They're all sterile, and so no children could be born. It's kind of like somewhat fit the bill, but didn't fit the bill enough for me to put on the list. But I wanted to like let people know in case there's people out there who probably think it is. I want to say I hear you. I love the film, but that's why I didn't put it on my list because I kind of was worrying with how it fit in the subject matter, so to speak. But it's a beautiful Alfonso Cuarón movie, and if you haven't seen it, see it. It's wonderful. So that being said, breaking into my top 10, easy one here. That's why I'm starting, and not you. It's Outbreak. That's my number 10.
The same for me.
Is it?
That's number 10. That's number 10. It's weird. I don't really like the movie, but I feel like it has to be on the list.
It does. It's fun enough to watch, and especially with what we're going through, it makes a lot of sense that this is one you want to watch because, like you were saying before about like needing an adventure, needing like an escapism. This is like the escapist version of having the catharsis because it's still kind of like it's almost like not serious, but like you can have fun with it. So, well, then you know what? Fine, that's good. We get everyone out of the way. We've already talked about that one. We did. Move on. So move on. My number 9. Bird Box.
Are you freaking kidding me? That's my number 9.
What?
That's my number 9.
Really?
Like I'm not even kidding. That's my number 9.
We have not talked about this list, guys. Just so you know.
We have not. Bird Box, like generally hated. I think it's kind of like this hot. It came onto Netflix. Everyone watched it, but everyone said it's not good.
I think what happened with it is that it actually came out, it was really hyped. Everybody wanted to watch it, and then a lot of people came to it after that, watched it, and was like, "Well, why is that so hyped?" It was almost like overhyped really quickly for a lot of people.
Just the opposite for me. I was like, everyone hyped it. I was like, oh, this looks like a like an outbreak or like disease. It's not a zombie movie, like alien invasion movie, right? Because I think it's kind of an alien invasion movie.
We don't really, yeah, it's kind of a weird, like you don't really get a whole lot.
You get infected, and then stuff happens to you, right?
Yeah, they don't really say exactly what goes down. It's kind of one of those things where you don't sometimes too much details would ruin the movie, so they kind of let it be vague enough that you're.
It's like a lesser version of The Quiet Place, but like a Quiet Place was like hearing this is seen.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a like this high concept in there.
It kind of came out. I think it came out like the same time too. I think that's what it was, or was close to it.
Yeah, pretty much. I think so. It
was like Netflix's version of A Quiet Place, even though I believe it's actually a novel. I believe it actually is a novel.
Probably it is. So. It probably is. And anyway, and Sandra Bullock is awesome in the role. I really don't get the hate that this movie is getting. I think it was very enjoyable. It was very gripping, and I even liked the ending. So
I thought it was fine. I was a little overhyped for me. I kind of watched and like, it's good. I didn't know why everybody was like praising it at first, but I did like Sandra Bullock. I did like John Malkovich. It was good. It was fine. It could definitely be top 10. So I think it's definitely worth a watch. Don't expect a second coming or anything, but it's good. I think you got like 3.5 stars. I want to say maybe 3 stars.
Same here. Yeah, that's exactly how we would rate it. Okay, so we both have both same
10 and 9. So I guess
you don't have my number 8.
You definitely don't have my number 8 either. I know that because I cheated a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. I cheated a little bit.
You put Shaun of the Dead on there, didn't you?
No, I didn't put Shaun of the Dead. I actually put a TV movie / miniseries on there.
Okay, I've heard of it. Never read or never seen any version of that. I think there's a movie as well. No,
not yet. I think they might be making one. Okay. It's too long. It's an epic book. You've never read it. If you never read it, it's phenomenal. It's probably Stephen King's best. And maybe some people argue the Dark Tower series, and I get that too. But outside the Dark Tower, I think this is considered probably his magnum opus. It's a phenomenal book, and the miniseries does a pretty good justice, I thought, for being a miniseries. Definitely a television miniseries, a TV, for the most part, TV actors, but some good moments. It does have Gary Sinise in it, which is good. It does have a certain actor named Ed Harris in it, very briefly in the beginning, and surprisingly enough, in a military role. But it's a great long-term. It's a pandemic type movie, but it also has like religious aspects in it.
So it's a miniseries, not a movie.
It is a miniseries. It is.
How many episodes?
I don't remember because I watched it all together in one. I think it might be either 2 or 3. It's probably 3.
Okay. So it still almost qualifies as a movie. I feel like if it's like 4 or less, it could be watched as like an entire movie. You know,
it would be a long ass movie, but probably not. Probably not much shorter, much longer than like Lord of the Rings extended edition, Return of the Kings. So I go with it. It is a little cheating, and I'll give you that. But I like it so much. I love the book so much, and I like the miniseries so enough that I wanted to throw it on the list out there. So it's my show. I can do what I want. That's what I say.
That's true.
It's our show, but that's part of it's my show. I can do my part of it how I want to do it. Come at me, bro. So go ahead. What's your number 8?
My number 8 is a movie called Blindness.
This one,
not sure if you've seen or heard of it.
I heard of it when I was looking through pandemic movies. I was like, "What is this?" Never seen it. Never heard of it before. Never thought.
Weird movie that's kind of forgotten. There's a lot of stars in there. The concept is pretty much there's a disease or an outbreak. Everyone in the world goes blind. Like almost instantly. Like you get the not instantly. It's gradual, but it's pretty fast. And the people who were blind before, they were the ones who started to run the world. People who were blind, they knew how to get along. They knew how to do stuff. Like all the people who went blind, they were just helpless. They were just sort of these, like, I don't want to say vegetables, but they were very incapable.
Okay.
So these like hierarchies started to form, these like gangs and cults, and it gets really dark for a while. And the people who were blind before, there's this like pretty good message in there that I almost don't even want to ruin the movie. I'll just say that you would think that the people who have some disabilities, that you pretty much never meet a disabled person who is a jerk.
Right.
Right. But that movie like proves the opposite in a way. And when it comes around, it kind of wraps up that thought pretty well. I don't want to ruin it. Okay. But it's a very original movie in that way, and it makes you think way more than your usual like disease or outbreak movie. So it's kind of a interesting watch.
Fair enough. Okay. So that's your number 8.
That's my number 8.
I don't have that. Like I said, I would want to. I actually reading through it and your description, I probably will at some point watch it.
It's pretty dark, and it takes itself very seriously, but it's an interesting watch. And Mark Ruffalo does a great performance.
Fair enough. Okay, number 7. This is where I go with. I don't know. Dawn of the Dead.
Okay, I didn't put Dawn of the Dead on there.
I'm a Zack Snyder stan. I admit, I love Zack Snyder's films. A lot of people don't like a lot of his things he does. He's a very visual director.
I love Zack Snyder.
He's a great director as far as visuals go. He's amazing. I watch anything he does. There's not many movies of him that he's done that I don't like. So again, come at me, I guess. But this was great as a remake of the George Romero classics. But it's a very good action. This is one of the ones I mentioned. It says about action movie on the list. This is definitely an action version. It's got a nice cast of not any superstars. You got like Ving Rhames, you got Sarah Polley, you got Jake Weber, Mekhi Phifer, Ty
Was Frank Grillo in it?
No.
I almost remember that type of like a military or like a special unit type of guy in there.
I don't remember. Okay, this is
no. I know.
In a while.
I'm confusing it with Resident Evil. There's this, like this dark-haired guy that I don't remember his name.
No, that's not someone. But it takes place in the mall. It's a very that's definitely a social commentary in and of itself. They don't go. Snyder doesn't go into the commentary like Romero did, for example. But it's a lot of great visuals, unshockingly, because it's Snyder. But I remember being very impressed by it. Like being a totally different style of Dawn of the Dead than I was expecting. And I had a good time with it. So I put it on my top 10.
Yeah, good pick. I've never been that into Dawn of the Dead, and I almost felt like it doesn't take it does take itself seriously though. It does. It's not a Yeah, it works. I just didn't put it on my list. For some reason I need to rewatch it though.
That's fine. I will too. I'm gonna do it as Zack Snyder watch through eventually. So
okay, so that was your number 7. Yep. My number 7 is 28 Days Later.
Ooh.
Interestingly enough, I'm not a huge fan of this movie. I do like it. I'm pretty sure most people will put it as their number 1. It's still on my list. It's my number 7. For some reason, the movie makes me feel very uncomfortable, and that's not what I want from that type of movie. It almost makes you feel too real. The way Danny Boyle shot this and sort of this editing and this feel of there's like
darkness,
disease. Yeah, it's super dark and makes me feel very uneasy.
Yeah,
like almost hopeless.
Spoiler alert! It's my number 2.
Okay,
that's how much I
makes sense. It's very high on most people's list.
Cillian Murphy's great. Brendan Meyer, Brendan Meyer, the kid. Brendan Gleeson. I'm throwing all these weird names in there. See, but Brendan Gleeson, that scene where Brendan Gleeson gets infected by the blood drops.
Yeah, I remember. That's the one.
And he starts and turns to his daughter. And he's like,
"Get away from me!
I love you. I love you. Get away from me!" Oh, so heartbreaking, so touching. I will admit that the ending, the third act, kind of goes a little bit off the rails a little bit. You have Doctor Who as the bad guy and as the military form, but a little bit off the rails. But I agree with what you say. I think that's why I like it, because I do feel uncomfortable watching it. I think it gets me into the mood's the wrong word, but I enter that film's what they're trying to go for.
I get that. It's very immersive.
It is very that's a great word. Very immersive. So it's my number 2. I think it's where I think I want to see a third. I saw the second one 28 weeks later, which was pretty good too. Actually, I think it's good for entering the franchise. I keep threatening to make a third one, and maybe 28 months later or something. I don't know.
They should.
I think they should. I'd love to revisit it at that point. So that's my number 2. So I guess now I should go into my. That was your number 7, right? You said so.
That was my number 7. That's right.
Okay, number 6. This is kind of a weird one off the beaten path. I'll be honest. This is one of those ones where I'm saying it's off the cuff. I don't remember a whole lot about the movie.
Okay.
But I remember watching it and loving it. Cabin Fever.
Okay, that I haven't seen. And I've seen it on a lot of people's lists. I haven't seen that.
What I do remember about it, it's kind of like if you take an old school horror film, like an old school like Friday the 13th style movie. It's kids in a camp, and they have a lot of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. But then the virus comes.
Kids, sex, and drugs.
Exactly. Teenagers, but you know what I'm saying. Like teenagers, like they're kids to me. I'm fucking an old man now. So.
Just stop.
I'm an old man.
I'm kidding.
I know, yeah.
Let's keep it.
But no, it's one of Eli Roth's first films. Some people love Eli Roth, some people hate Eli Roth. I dig what he does for the most part. This is one of his first films, I think, and before he went to like Hostel and stuff like that. But this was, I think it was before Hostel. I think it was. But either way, I think it's a great fun film. I know they remade it like not too long ago. I was surprised that it was so quick for a remake. But I did enjoy this one quite a bit. So that's my number 6.
Okay, my number 6 is, it used to be one of my favorite movies of all time. It's not anymore. It's I Am Legend.
Oh, okay.
And I do think that this movie qualifies way more than any of the other zombie movies. So this starts off, you get the backdrop, you get the explanation that they developed a sort of virus that fought the cancer cells that was supposed to better humankind.
Right.
And they talk about how the virus completely wiped off like 95%, I think, of the population. The other 5% turned into these like daywalkers, or not daywalkers, dream walkers or something. I don't remember what they call them exactly. And like less than 1% immune. So they pretty much stress from the get-go, this is not a full-on zombie movie, but this is a disease or a virus movie. And throughout the whole movie, Will Smith is looking for the cure. So usually these zombie movies are just about surviving. This is about curing humankind.
Right. My number 4. I actually enjoy it quite a bit.
Yeah. One of Will Smith's best movies. I feel like.
One of his best performances, absolutely. Yeah. The scene with the dog is heartbreaking.
Oh, no. Yeah, very much so.
So heartbreaking. I can't even watch it. I'm like, yeah, turn away. It's funny how dog deaths can be worse than human deaths.
Oh, they're definitely worse.
See, it's the innocence factor, I think. But a lot of goodness that comes in. There's a lot of some good action sequences, some good horror sequences. And Will Smith is a great performance. So I haven't watched it in a while. I would like to revisit it at some point.
It doesn't hold up very well because the creatures, the CGI is pretty bad.
Is it bad?
So if you can forgive that, the movie's still awesome, because I feel like the first half of the movie it's really enjoyable. You see him like driving around with his like Mustang, he's hitting golf balls off the bomber.
I almost makes it look fun, almost.
it kind of does. It's like, yeah, you get into this world, it's enjoyable. Then you see his world starts to unravel with all these things that go down. So I think it's a very enjoyable apocalyptic movie. The first half, at least.
We'll go with it. Apocalypse. It's a fun time.
It's a fun time, man.
It's fun time, man. Right. Let's see. So that was your number.
My number 6.
Number 6. Okay, so number 6. Okay, so go number 5 now for me. World War Z.
My number 2.
Number 2. It is a great film.
Almost had it as number 1.
The horror aspect of this film is beyond. Like, I feel like, And in the same way that 28 Days Later makes you uncomfortable, this one makes you uncomfortable for different reasons. Like you're actually literally on the edge of your seat sometimes with how fast these zombies are. Like just they're not slow. These are not slow zombies.
These are super fast.
Super fast. You're just like, holy fucking shit! You don't have time. You're like so scared. You're so adrenaline. You're like, oh my god! Woo, 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 woo. Brad Pitt gives a great job as surprisingly as a more everyman than he usually gets to play.
He's really great.
It's a great performance by him. This is where he starts. I think this is where he starts really digging in and being comfortable as Brad Pitt, if that makes sense. But yeah, it's a very fun movie. I like it a lot. It's fun in that exciting, actiony horror kind of way.
Yeah, it's very visual. There's a lot of huge set pieces. I think my favorite parts when they go to Israel and they have these walls that are like they built the walls before everyone else did. They have this really cool explanation why they did it. It's like we've gotten warnings before, we've ignored them. Now we heard the word zombie and we built these walls. It's so ridiculous, but you understand it anyway.
Absolutely.
and how the zombies like start like piling on each other, like climbing up the walls. Is really cool visuals. But they never really break the vibe of this still feels real and grounded in a way.
I get that. Yeah, I get that. To a degree. Yeah, absolutely. I know they've been threatening to make a sequel for a long time.
I'm like the only one that's clamoring for it.
Brad Pitt is too, I think. He really
Avatar 2 and World War Z. I'm like so on board. Make it happen. Everyone else disagrees with me.
I would like to see a sequel. I wouldn't mind seeing a sequel at all. It just seems like it's almost like it's ever going to get made. I don't know. It keeps like getting pushed back. And
they almost had a Fincher.
I know. That would have been a cool thing to see.
Yeah.
But alas.
But yeah, it was supposed to be a very different movie. Also, the book actually has the part where the plane crashes and they go into the CDC building, I think in Wales or something, where they discover the almost cure. They inject them with disease and they become camouflage. In the book, it was actually that Brad Pitt's wife and kids were sent to a Brad Pitt was sent to a concentration camp in Siberia and Russia somewhere. He was stuck there. He was fighting his way out, trying to get back to his family. So I hope that when they make the sequel, they kind of tie in that storyline because the book is actually pretty damn good. So
extremely different.
It is.
The book's done in like the format. The book is done isn't a film format. It's very much.
It's almost like a documentary.
It's documentary, but it's all like in little vignettes and it's all like little slices of things.
Honestly, I actually haven't read the book, but I've read so much about the book.
It's done like I read it. I was shocking. I read it afterwards, and there's no through storyline. It's not like a storyline of like from A to Z. It's just like
so. It's not about Jerry.
It's like he's partially in there, but it's not. It's always like this little story. They take basically these little slices of the outbreak and from different viewpoints, and they put it all together. It's kind of a weird mashup. I think I'd almost have to read it again to really appreciate it because I was kind of like, this is not what I saw really. It's totally it's almost like it was a name only, almost like an alternate universe type of version of it in a way. It's hard to explain exactly, but again, I watched the movie and read the book a while ago, so I do remember being like surprised at the stark differences in the novel, but.
So it's a big world. They could return to it. There's a lot of more stories to make.
Absolutely.
So that was your number 5?
Yeah, that was my number 5.
My number 5 is 12 Monkeys. Is that your number 1?
It's my number 1, and I'm gonna break with the rule that we just had. I'm gonna wait. I'll talk about mine number 1. This is my number 1.
All right, then let's wait. That's what I wanted to do before. If someone has it higher, we wait.
Okay. I figure I would just do for number 1s, but
I'd rather discuss it together,
Okay, that's fine. All right, then we'll go on. Number 4 was I Am Legend for me, so I'm going to say number 4 for you.
My number 4, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
This is the one you told me about just before we went on the air. So I had to look for the posters and everything else.
This is definitely a virus movie. Rise of the Planet of the Apes starts off with this disease that starts wiping out humankind, and the world gets taken over by the apes. Sure. The main plot or topic is people and apes trying to, not really trying to apes take over, but it still feels to me, at least the first movie, is very much rooted in the outbreak and pandemic theme. So, and I tried to think of which movie is the best out of the new trilogy, because I've seen the Tim Burton, Mark Wahlberg vehicle, which actually I kind of find it pretty sweet in a weird way.
You might be the only one.
Yeah, I know, it was so enjoyable. I remember watching it at the cinema.
Never saw it.
It's really cool. It's a cool action movie. I've never seen the older ones, but Dawn of the Planet of the Apes was definitely the best of them, the most action oriented. And I feel like the Caesar storyline with, I think Koba was it Koba?
Yep.
Yeah, from Warrior.
Yep. Yeah. Kurt Angle.
Yeah.
No, I love those films. I love all three of those films. Those three films are phenomenal films. I'm almost they're making a sequel now. Like it's like almost like a.
I think they want to reboot
but it's like not really, because not Matt Reeves, because he's doing the Batman, so he's done with it. So I think from what I heard, it's like they're gonna stay in the same. Like, it's because Caesar, spoilers, but Caesar's gone. He's done.
Yep.
He died in the last one. That's why like these three were Caesar's story, but they want to keep it in the same universe. But so it's kind of like a reboot, but not really a reboot. It's like almost like a next generation kind of thing, maybe, or something.
Well, they could do it. Sure.
So I don't know exactly how it's going down, but you're right. I just totally forgot this was like a virus movie, so these didn't even cross my mind. And now that once you said it, I was like, oh yeah, they'd probably be on my list somewhere, because I do like all of them also as well. So, but it is what it is.
That's my number 4. What's your number 3?
My number 3 is Contagion.
Me too.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Yeah. Let's keep right by. We were talking about that one as well. It's just a well done, well crafted, not masterpiece, well crafted film.
If we were talking about realistic disease virus movies, no zombie movies, this would be number 1.
Right. Fair enough.
Absolutely, it would be number 1.
Okay. All right. The number 2 for me was 28 Days Later. So
and for me, World War Z.
World War Z. So now I guess we'll say, what's your number 1 then?
My number 1, surprisingly enough, I just watched it for the first time 3 days ago, is Train to Busan.
This is what I hear. This is all about what I hear.
This movie rocked me, shocked me, took me for a ride, pun intended. Did everything that I wanted it to do, but I was not expecting it to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just a movie about people on a train trying to escape zombies. I don't want to ruin it, but just, and also like, it's actually very similar to World War Z in the visual style. The zombies are super fast, and they do the same thing where the zombies pile onto each other and sort of like roll out and stuff like that.
So creepy.
It's very like aggressive and fast and really cool visuals. But there's a really strong emotional core to it. There's a father-daughter relationship that will just... I won't say anything.
Okay.
It will move you.
Okay. I've heard this from numerous sources, from many people. It is on my queue to watch eventually. I don't know when I'm going to get to it, but I probably watch it sooner than later at this point, because I just keep hearing great things about it. So I know you want to talk to me about it, so I do want to watch it. I hope to see it. That's why I mentioned it. That's why I put it on my honorable mentions list, because I just heard so many good things about it. It'll probably be on my list somewhere. Knocking Outbreak off the bottom, maybe. I don't know. But all right, so then let's talk about my number 1 that I'm talking about. I'll bring it up again. 12 Monkeys. Mm-hmm. I love this movie.
I rewatched it 2 days ago.
Did you? Okay, I rewatched it also. So that's behind the scenes again. When we came up with Outbreak versus Contagion, we almost threw in a 3-way Outbreak versus Contagion versus 12 Monkeys, and I want to bring it up because I love the movie so much. I saw it in the movie theater. It was one of my favorite movies of the 90s. It is, without a doubt, confusing as all hell, but it's one of those movies that, like, it's not. There's some movies that are confusing. You're kind of like, you walk out going, I don't know what the fuck happened, and I don't care. And this one, you're like, I want to find out more. I want to find out, what did I miss, or what did happen? Was it real? Was he just crazy? Was it? I don't really know. And it's a little vague enough where you kind of you get to fill in some of the gaps yourselves. But
we had this conversation. I told you just when I was watching it, exactly what you're saying is like, I'm not sure if did it happen?
It definitely happened. It definitely happened.
It probably did. But Bruce Willis himself says, I'm crazy. This is not real. I'm going crazy. So he turns into this unreliable narrator.
Right.
Which you don't really. He doesn't start off as an unreliable narrator. There you go. I said it. But the more you think of it, all the weirdness of the real world, where he's coming from, that's what got me thinking. Like this council of people who are super weird in their, like, I don't know, like steampunk outfits almost. It feels like something he fabricated. But the story, like David Morse's character, everything sort of wraps up at the end, and like.
Well, that's why I think it happens. That's why I think it really happens, because the ending. Well, and we're going to spoil some things here if you haven't seen the movie, so I'll give you a second. Spoilers on this one. At the very end, you see that Bruce Willis is, as a young boy, having this vision. Bruce Willis the whole time has this vision of himself as a young boy, a memory he has from the airport and of somebody getting shot. And he finally sees at the end that he watched himself.
Yeah, it's a time travel paradox.
Time travel paradox, and it all comes together. And at the very end, at that point, they come back saying, the scientists come back saying, "Oh, you got the information we needed. You won. Congratulations. Thank you so much." And at the end, when David Morse's character sits down in the plane, he's sitting next to one of the scientists.
That's right. That's what was so weird.
And because she's saying, "Oh, I'm insurance."
Well, what did that mean?
That meant that she's insuring humanity's survival. She's getting close to this guy and is going to figure out how to cure. If she wanted to get, basically what she wants is, she knows she can't stop the virus from happening. That's what is a big deal about the time travel movies. You can't stop things from happening. But what they hoped to do was, if they got close enough and they got she got a sample of the virus, she might be able to work a cure for who's left in the real world later on. So if she has the virus sample, she can then be in her time and move forward in the future in her time, cure everybody who's left, or be able to live in the outside world again, then retake over the earth at that point. So that's what made me think it definitely happened. I know that was very confusing to me the first couple of times. I'm like, why is she there? What the hell? But that is what actually happened after I think about it, is that she's there. He was successful. He told her everything they needed, and then she was able to go back and sit with the guy on the plane and go from there. So I love that aspect of it.
The story is pretty much, it feels almost like Revenge of the Sith, like Bruce Willis trying to like, he almost starts to realize what's happening, and he's trying to change the course, but the fact that he's trying to change actually makes it happen. So there's like the Anakin Padme thing almost going on,
Yeah, I mean, I love Madeline Stowe in this movie. Like, she gets increasingly unhinged herself, because she starts believing him. And she's getting, I love the aspect when she sees him in World War I, I think it is. And she's like, "Oh my God, this fucking thing is real." And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Brad Pitt in this movie.
Oh my God!
First time he really stepped out of out of that realm of pretty boy.
What a success it was!
And got an Oscar nomination for it, because it was so out at the time, out of character. Not ugly himself. He can't really ugly out Brad Pitt, but he was not the pretty boy, golden boy. He had the weird eye looking. And I loved his performance in this. I mean,
super erratic, sort of it felt like he had so much fun playing the role.
Yes, exactly. So I love that aspect of it. It made me actually, this is a film that made me a Brad Pitt fan. I could have taken or leaving before. I was like, he's good, he's fine. But this, okay, this guy can act. He's got something here. So
this is always the performance when I talk to my friends, of saying Brad Pitt's just a movie star. He's not really a great actor. I always reference 12 Monkeys and Seven.
Oh, yeah.
From his earlier movies. I mean, absolutely. There are some latter ones that are definitely up there as well.
Yeah, there are, and he definitely he's definitely, Brad Pitt is definitely a superstar now. So I mean, but I did this is, like I said, this is one of my favorite films. Actually, probably in my top 100 to 50 films of all time. Honestly, I love it that much. I think it's so much fun. Terry Gilliam is a great director on it. It's a very screwed up, makes you think film, but that's what that's cool about it to me.
Yeah, but he makes these kinds of movies. I watched through some of his other movies. They're almost all of them are these really weird.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I think he made one with what's Hanslanda, Christoph Waltz. This really like I don't remember the name. Something like I can't even discuss. He makes super weird, like science fiction-y, psychological movies. Yeah.
Adventures of Baron Munchausen. He's made that one Heath Ledger's last movie, Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus, where like he had to have a bunch of people in there to play Heath Ledger, or whatever Heath Ledger role. He can always do anything he wants in his films. He's got such an imagination; he can make it work. He's from Monty Python, which is always kind of a funny thing.
It's crazy, yeah.
Right? But I loved it. I loved him in it. So anyway, that's my favorite Outbreak movie. Even though the funny part about it is one of the reasons I had to hesitate a little bit is that you don't actually see the virus or the outbreak. You only see the aftermath and the beforehand. You don't see anything about the actual.
Yeah, it feels more like a time travel movie rather than an outbreak movie, but I think it still qualifies. So
I mean, it's reason why it centers around a pandemic. So, so I'm going to go with it again. Our show, my part of the show. I'm going to say fuck it. I'm doing it. Come at me. So
that's right.
Well, that's it. That's our show. We went out, like I said, we got off the, that's the jury's out. 10 Angry Films. We went off the beaten path. Something we might do more and more. I know I'm only this is our 17th episode, maybe a little bit off the beaten path.
I think, yeah.
I think it's 17th. We're not going to completely abandon our format. I'm sure we're going to do format of that, but we have other special ranking. We like the ranking stuff too, as well. I think one of those we want to do sometime soon, maybe, is do just had Richard watch through the View Askew universe, the Kevin Smith films. So we might do something like that. I might be trying to get a guest for that, maybe. If they'll have me, if they'll be on our show. And there's stuff coming up too. So a lot of definite times where we're just going to do our format. We might not do our format. It's going to be whatever we want to do. So
I think we just have to enjoy ourselves and talk movies. I feel like it works out.
I think so. It works well. I had a lot of fun this episode. So
me too, man.
This time, so.
Watch Train to Busan.
I will.
Not just you. Everyone, watch it.
Okay. And watch 12 Monkeys if you haven't seen that either. Where can they find you, REJ, Reggie?
Richard Eric with a K Jarvi on Facebook and Instagram. And go follow Action Industries on Instagram as well.
Okay. I am at Paul_DiNuzzo on Twitter. I also am on Facebook, Paul DiNuzzo. And you can also find me the Team Action Patreon, patreon.com/Team Action. A lot of new tiers help Ben and Drew, support Ben and Drew as we do. Love the guys. Also, I will say that I do Call to Action's Shield Action Show, which is a movie trivia showdown after show, which is very cool. I think they're actually going to be on ESPN. ESPN's going to cover them. ESPN, the website, is writing a story about them on the esports page. So that's going to be very cool because it's such a niche thing, but I'd love to see it expand more out. Ben and Drew are also heavily involved in that. And finally, I also say that I have opened my own YouTube channel called PLD Projects. Come subscribe there as well. I do a show on Star Wars, a show on V. And I'll probably be doing some of my projects as well, like the Harristons and things of that nature, amongst other things. So that's where you can find me. Thanks for joining us here on Class Action. Come again next week, and let's see. We might do.
We'll see what we do next week. We'll come up with something. Yeah, maybe we would do a live stream at some point.
So we probably should do it at some point. Only reason we haven't done it before, honestly, is just the time differences. Because my boy's out in Estonia and I'm here. It's kind of hard to make everything work out right. But we'll make it work. So with that being said, the last thing, as always, court, it is adjourned.
But the court's out, so I'm not going to